The fact is that you now have to argue the constitutionality of his own gag order in front of him, and then he tells the Trump lawyers that they're losing credibility in his courtroom. I'm sorry, this judge has no credibility.
Yeah, this is the same methodology that judges have done with me, and the left-wing media, they'll run with it. They try and make attorneys on the team look or seem like they don't know what they're doing. They know that the press is in the room, and they kind of play into it. They'll say things, I'll speak to my experience. For the lawyers out there that'll understand, I was putting in something in evidence, and it was impeachment evidence. It wasn't introducing something blindly. And the judge was making comments that would make the press believe that I didn't know what I was doing, saying, you need to read the evidence rules. And I was looking at him, and I remember thinking, you're doing this on purpose. You're doing this in front of a jury. You're doing this in front of the press. And the jury is impressionable. To them, the judge runs the court. And I think it's intentional. I know it is. They do it. They've done it to me. And they try and berate and ridicule the attorneys. And it's really pathetic.
Alina Habba is back on TV trying to clear up any negative attention they're getting after another day in court over Trump's campaign violations and paying off a mistress and illegally trying to cover it up. But this time, she didn't like how the judge was trying to make her look like she doesn't know what she's doing. She's already famously pointed out that this shouldn't faze her at all.
Somebody said to me, Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy, pretty. I can fake being smart. But,
I meet him all the time, Alina.
That's the honest truth, and it's going to make me, I'm sure there'll be some Washington Post article about it tomorrow, Daily Beast, my favorite. But listen, you have to be honest. It doesn't hurt to be good looking in this world, in the PR world, on TV. It doesn't hurt. And when you're good looking, that's great, but it can also mean people think you're stupid, or people think that President Trump hired me because I was good looking.
No matter what case Trump's attorneys are trying to navigate, their team thinks it's a good idea to run to cameras and bark about the judge, the jury, prosecutors, and reporters. And after they finish yelling at the gaggle of reporters, they go on conservative podcasts or cable news to convince viewers that what they're seeing play out isn't real. But when you're always angrily publicizing your legal proceedings, you're going to get some negative attention, too. Ron Filipkowski of Midas Touch Network regularly needles ridiculousness from Habba. And since she pays more attention to what people are saying than she does in her trials, she responded.
Hey, guys. I've never done a video like this, so I thought I would try because Ron Filipkowski is getting 1 million views for me chopping celery. This is me eating avocado. Happy Passover, everybody. Hey, Ron, you little trollski. Well, I'm not good at this either. Oh, oops. Get a life!
That odd takedown that got more negative attention than positive was in response to Filipkowski criticizing her celery cutting technique, where he wrote, Alina Habba gives a master class on how to saw celery.
I just think it's so good. And it brings the moisture so it's not dry.
So what vegetables are we using? Celery?
We use celery and carrots.
Celery and carrots.
But I love these. I had to go to 2 different places because Joseph's didn't have the
carrots.
Chips.
Oh, the carrot chips.
The chips. So I brought 2 sizes, the chips, and then there's these little ones I'll throw in there too.
Yes, Ron is trolling her doing simple cooking videos, but why don't Trump's attorneys ever have a moment of calculation before they fly off the handle and respond to things like this? She pointed out he's getting 1 million views over her cutting some celery. So how do you think responding to it will help your case? It ends up looking like they want to talk about anything else except what's being revealed in court.
Yet they're going after the former president of the United States, a person beloved by hundreds of millions of people in this country, over $130,000 from 8 years ago. They could have charged him any time in that period of time. No, he didn't do anything wrong, but they could charge him. They wait until 196 days before an election to drag him into court. 34 felony counts.
Jesse Waters also has been on a roll lately with comically bad takes on a daily basis about how victimized Trump is for having to sit in court to face charges like any other person that just got busted. I'm actually convinced that he's not serious about anything he says in Trump's defense. is just fulfilling his duties at this point.
And they caught him. They trapped him in a cage. We call it a courtroom, but it's a cage. And he's like King Kong. And they're sending Maddow down there, and she's looking at him like an animal. She's like, oh, man, his hair is really orange. Look at his eyes. Look at his lips. He's angry. He's mad. He's upset. Watching him. They're not providing any sort of legal analysis. Joy Reid went down there, and he's like, well, he's bigger than I thought he was. I mean, they're acting like it's like a zoo creature. And what happens with King Kong? You remember? Boom. It's not going to be good. So he's going to bust out of this cage eventually. They're not going to be able to keep him down.
They killed King Kong.
Yeah. He took a white woman on top of a building, and it was frowned upon in the 40s.
I don't think I saw the end of that movie.
Waters doesn't really seem to care, since his job is to test new material in front of his 4 friends on the 5, which actually might provide some comic relief to supporters that need some kind of emotion other than rabid anger. Again, anyone that works for Trump is contractually obligated to furiously say the same lines that they were given to drive the violent propaganda home.
President Trump remains defiant in the face of this witch hunt, and I will say it is such a shame to see the former president of the United States being prosecuted like a criminal in a criminal court here in New York City when there are real criminals running free in the streets. This is a case being brought by a Democrat prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, who has a clear vendetta against President Trump, overseen by a Democrat partisan judge who donated money to Joe Biden's campaign in a Democrat jurisdiction where they know it's nearly impossible for President Trump to get a fair and impartial jury. So it's despicable to watch this take place. And as the president just laid out, not only is this a witch hunt, it is also an unconstitutional violation of his First Amendment rights. It shows the disdain that the judge has for the president, that he put this unconstitutional gag order on him. Not only are they prosecuting him, they don't even want him to speak about it.
This is the same Trump campaign press secretary that flew through most of the same bullet points just a day or two before, except she must have rethought the line about not being proud to be an American this time.
Well, I will say, Sean, like millions of your viewers, I consider myself to be a proud American. But after sitting in that dirty, disgusting criminal courtroom today, watching the former president of the United States being persecuted like a criminal, I don't know if I'm so proud to be an American anymore. Meanwhile, there are real criminals running free in the streets of this city every single day, being released by the same Democrat prosecutor who is going after President Trump. It is a tremendous waste of taxpayer dollars. It's a tremendous waste of time, if not being brought by far-left District Attorney Alvin Bragg, overseen by a Democrat judge who donated money to Joe Biden's campaign. And let's not forget why this case is being led. It's because we have a Democrat president in the White House, in Joe Biden, who is concocting all of these Biden trials behind the scenes in an attempt to interfere in this election and weaken his political opposition. This is what we see in banana republics, third world countries, not the United States of America. But unfortunately for the Democrats, Sean, it is backfiring on them because President Trump is tough and he's tenacious.
Yeah, we get it. You hate this third world country. Joe Biden is orchestrating all this despite how sleepy and feeble he is. Alvin Bragg and Letitia James are no good, dirty prosecutors. The judge isn't kissing Trump's ass. The New York jury sucks. Donald Trump doesn't get to rant and rave about it, except that he does every day. He's so innocent. I mean, everyone that worked with him is guilty. But he's so innocent.
We have some breaking news. We have just learned that former President Donald Trump is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Michigan Attorney General's case against so-called fake electors.
You might recall last year, 16 Republicans were charged with conspiracy to commit election forgery after they allegedly attempted to replace the state's electoral votes for President Biden with votes for President Trump.
This is a pretty big deal coming out of Michigan. As you mentioned, state prosecutors there already charged the Republicans who were actually fake electors in 2020. There was a pre-trial hearing in the case earlier this morning, and one of the lead investigators in the probe was on the stand testifying about their investigation. He was asked under oath, who are the other unindicted co-conspirators, people who have been implicated in this criminal conspiracy but are not facing any charges at this time. And he confirmed for the very first time that that list includes former President Donald Trump, Trump's former attorney Rudy Giuliani, Trump's chief of staff when he was in the White House, Mark Meadows, and then finally Jenna Ellis, who was a Trump campaign attorney. What this means is that state prosecutors in Michigan believe that those 4 people were co-conspirators in this fake electors plot, though I want to, of course, stress they are not facing charges in Michigan at this time. They were all charged in Georgia. You remember that big election interference case down in Georgia? They were all charged there. Ellis pleaded guilty. The other three deny wrongdoing.